All this guy does is hang out in the bathroom and go through like 2 bottles of lotion a day.
Teenagers. What's wrong with them? 1,000 different things. Possibly more.
The brain chemistry of a teenager is the same as that of a psychopath. They're literally criminally insane.
As somebody who has been cursed with younger siblings and younger cousins, I can attest to this. They're stubborn and annoying and literally incapable of listening to the simplest instructions. God, I wasn't this bad when I was a teenager. I was worse. So I guess it's karma. Ironically, it didn't feel like that at the time. I was super cool. Everybody else just happened to be too stupid to understand me. South Park does an excellent job explaining why it felt like that. The show explores what makes puberty so frustrating for everyone within a radius of 100 miles in Season 17's Taming Strange, and Season 25's Help, My Teenager Hates Me. These episodes don't just explore what makes puberty so frustrating, they also give any of you unlucky parents in the audience pointers on what you can do about it. And so for you misunderstood current and former teenagers, there is still a long road ahead. But if you get to the end, you'll discover that the journey is totally worth it. So, why don't we get started? Angst is a massive part of the teenage experience. The world just doesn't make sense. Everything is frustrating and stupid and way more complicated than it needs to be. The things that cause this feeling are the focus of Taming Strange. Kyle's younger brother Ike is going through early onset puberty. Ike needed laxative, but because of the mix-up in the Canadian healthcare system, he ended up swapping prescriptions with Tom Brady. Ike receives Brady's hormones and Brady receives Ike's laxatives. The outcome is not surprising. Brady craps his pants on the pitch, and Ike ends up cycling the entire hormone load on a 6'4" football player through his tiny 5-year-old body. South Park uses this as a joke, but it perfectly represents all the hormonal changes that happen during puberty. These hormonal changes influence a lot of other things, especially behavior. We tend to crave different things depending on our hormonal profile.
I don't know whether to watch Yo Gabba Gabba or go out and tame some strange.
When this hormonal shift is fairly new and sudden, it can be confusing and frustrating. The hormonal shift is further complicated by low self-esteem.
Look at the zits on my face.
And we've all been there. You suddenly start finding girls attractive, but you don't have the stones to do anything about it because you're so self-conscious. Your face is full of pimples, your body feels weird, you have hair growing in strange corners, and blood is flowing into all the wrong organs. Your clothes may also not fit you properly because you're either growing too fast or your mom bought you clothes that were 2 sizes too big because you'll grow into them. This combo of out-of-control hormones and a compromised self-esteem can be frustrating. You don't feel in control of your body anymore. Organs like your wiener seem to have a mind of their own. Now, teenagers, being who they are, take out their frustrations on everybody else. And when they're not taking their frustrations out on somebody, they're finding other ways to act out. Take this kid from Australia. He jumped into a river filled with crocodiles to impress a girl. Then he got attacked by a 10-foot crocodile because those mannerless reptiles have no respect for any sort of romantic gesture. But he survived, and the girl wasn't even impressed. So, keep trying, brothers. Nobody has cracked the code yet. The rejection didn't matter too much, though. Our boy got paid a bunch of money for interviews after this incident made international news. And he spent all that money on, you guessed it, women. Once the money was gone, Bro decided to become a GTA character. He beat up 2 police officers and tried to steal a car. I would call him crazy, but who knows? Those 18-year-old hormones are something else. I wasn't anywhere close to sane at that age either. But unlike our fearless croc magnet, Ike leaves the crocodiles alone and just picks on Kyle.
But he posted a message of me with a schlong on my head.
Kyle's mom tells him it's normal.
Part of getting older is finding ways to assert your independence, you know.
This need to assert their own independence is what causes the vast majority of problems between teenagers and everybody else. On one hand, you feel like a grown-up, but everyone else still treats you like a kid. This feeling is very stifling. Ike is changing. He has different needs and he wants to explore them. But Kyle wants him to stay the same adorable toddler he's always been. Ike finds it extremely frustrating.
Why can't you just let me grow up?
Kyle is doing what a lot of parents do. They want you to stay the good little boy that you've always been, but you're not a boy anymore. You're a man. And men don't let mommy pick out their clothes or ruffle their hair in front of anybody. But mommy doesn't care. She just finds new ways of embarrassing you in front of your friends, and you kinda have to suck up and take it. Now, parents are not malicious. They're not trying to baby you or anything. They're actually just trying to help because they know better. But if you've been through it, you really don't care if mommy and daddy know better. You usually just want to figure it all out by yourself. This makes conflict inevitable. This conflict is what leads to teenage rebellion, and teenage rebellion can in turn lead to a very dark and dangerous place.
Chewing tobacco?
Ike is testing boundaries and breaking rules. These are always step number 1 and 2 of teenage rebellion. This is the time where we experiment with all the things we're not supposed to do. But this boundary pushing isn't always a good idea. Experiment with the wrong thing and boom, you just gifted yourself a lifelong addiction. Even if you don't get addicted, you can hurt yourself if you're not smart in the way you go about testing boundaries and breaking rules. In Help, My Teenager Hates Me, we see a teen play with fire just because it's something to do.
I'm holding my hand over a lighter. It's burning the shit out of my hand.
Ike plays with fire too, but in a way more questionable manner, both ethically and legally.
Yeah, for my cool trick, I'm gonna tame Fufa Strange.
Ike gets naked and grinds on Fufa.
Wait, oh my god, what are you doing? No, what are you doing to Fufa? No!
It's insane, but it's one of those problems that comes with early puberty. Ike feels very grown up, but he still doesn't have a very good grasp of consequences. He is still operating under the childhood mentality of, I want this because I want, gimme. An adult might think about what happens after he gets naked and grinds on somebody on stage, and then what happens after that, and after that, and after that. Stuff like being beaten by bouncers, spending all his money on medical bills, and going to jail, where you have to worry about situations like this. An adult would freak out just thinking about all the terrible consequences, but Ike is still a child. He has no grasp of second-hand order or third-order consequences. He isn't mature enough to understand that every action causes a cascade of consequences, which cause their own cascade of consequences, on and on until you're beating yourself up and wondering why you were so stupid in the first place.
Listen here, little boy. It is never okay to take off your clothes and grind on another person.
But Ike is the luckiest kid in the world. Fufa isn't even mad at him. She has her own set of hormones messing up her capacity for rational thought.
I don't want to do the little kid thing the rest of my life.
Fufa feels grown up. She wants to rebel as well. I don't need to tell you how. Teenage rebellion tends to follow stereotypical gendered patterns. Boys try to look badass and girls try to look sexy. Matt and Trey use Fufa to parody Miley Cyrus's turn from child star to Spank Bank member #1 for creeps. Her story follows the Miley Cyrus script.
She's been seen out partying, photographed smoking pot.
Ike becomes Fufa's manager and guides her through the whole rebellion arc.
Fufa's got that nice shave strange that you just want to get in and tame the second you see it.
This is a commentary on how a lot of Hollywood transformations from child star to sex doll tend to be stage managed by some creep in the background. But that is not the focus of this video. The focus is teenage rebellion, all its problems, and the solutions. So how do you deal with teenage rebellion? In Taming Strange, Fufa's friends tried the old routine of trying to talk her out of it.
You don't have to show you're strange to get attention.
This, unsurprisingly, doesn't work. It's a problem as old as time. Teenagers simply don't listen. If I had to listen to all the lectures by my parents dished out to me as a teen, I probably would be president by now. But I don't even remember what they said because I always spaced out and let them talk until they got too tired and left me alone. Don't look at the screen like you're innocent. You spaced out too. Didn't listen to a single word, did ya? This is what Fufa does. She ignores everybody's advice, goes on stage and sings Pound My Sweet Strange. By some miracle, Ike turns out to be less stubborn. After Kyle talks to him and tells him that he just wants to be by his side and let him grow, Ike figures out the lesson most of us never learned as teens.
Part of growing up is rebelling, but I'm gonna get older whether I like it or not. So why push it?
It's a great message, and I think it's pretty on point. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was grow up and become an adult. Once I became an adult, I realized that adulting is a scam. The freedom was fun for a while, but then the trade-off is grossly long workdays, taxes, and bills. It's not so fun anymore. All I do is worry about the future, and all the 10,000 different ways everything could go wrong. When I was 5 years old, the only thing I worried about was which flavor of ice cream to get. I miss that simplicity sometimes. But teenagers aren't going to listen to that. Patience isn't their strong suit, so South Park tried a different approach.
Yeah, there's no place you can actually go and shoot each other. Only it's soft BBs and they're biodegradable, and the guns are like totally real except you don't actually get hurt, and it's like paintballs, but there's no mess and the stuff looks totally real, and it's called airsoft. Can I get one?
The boys discover airsoft, but they can't play alone. To stop them from being overpowered and easily defeated by the older kids, they get paired with teenagers, and it's a lot of fun for them.
Oh my god. This is the greatest day of my f***ing life.
The boys gush about it on the way home.
I'm just really happy, you guys. Airsoft is seriously like the greatest thing in the whole world.
I know what you're thinking. What's the catch?
We just gotta keep our teenagers happy and we can play airsoft all the time.
Sounds easy enough, but how do you keep a teenager happy? The boys painfully discover what any parent could have told them for free.
Bruh.
You can't. The teenagers are moody, insufferable, and foul-mouthed. Kyle's teenager is hungry and tired all the time. Cartman's teenager spends all his time in the bathroom.
All this guy does is hang out in the bathroom and go through like 2 bottles of lotion a day.
Cartman thinks he's obsessed with soft hands. But you know better, don't you? Stan's teenager, on the other hand, can't even make ramen.
Well, you have to put the noodles in boiling water.
I'm sorry I'm not a 5-star chef!
As for Kenny's teenager, the less said the better.
You don't even care! You don't care because you don't even know me!
That rant was obviously meant for somebody else, but Kenny just happens to be the nearest and most convenient outlet. The teenagers get triggered by everything. Minor suggestions from the boys are blown way out of proportion.
Dude, that's my friend Kenny. We gotta kill him.
I don't take orders from you!
The boys are miserable. The teenagers are ruining their enjoyment of airsoft and pretty much the rest of their lives.
I seriously don't know what to do.
This is what a lot of parents feel with their teenage children. Stuck. This reflects how parents feel about their kids. They can't just give up on them, and no matter how insufferable those rascals get, parents still love them even more than the boys love airsoft. Determined to get their fun game, the boys brainstorm ways of dealing with teenagers. Like many frustrated parents, they turn to a book.
I've been reading this book, Help, My Teenager Hates Me. It has some interesting ideas.
One of those ideas is to take the teenagers camping so you can connect with them. And the boys do exactly that.
Bruh. Bruh.
A defeated Kyle goes crying to his dad.
You wouldn't understand, Dad. I just can't deal with teenagers.
But Kyle's dad does understand. Together, they stumble into the solution to Kyle's teenager problem. It's the same thing other dads have stumbled into as well. No, it's not that. That's just their dads shopping at the airsoft store.
Give me one of everything you have.
The boys partner with their dads, and Jimbo. It's the boys and dads versus teenagers. The boys have a lot of frustration to let out, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
And if we win, you stay out of our lives forever!
It's a hard fight. Cartman corners his lotion-loving teenager in the bathroom and helps him beat that meat with a hail of airsoft pellets.
What you do to Jergen's lotion isn't right.
Randy lures the rest of the teens out of hiding with a lit jar of devil's grass.
Dope, that is so dope, bruh.
Then he takes them all out with a grenade. It's a decisive victory. The teens are so thoroughly beaten they rage quit. Shooting your teenager is obviously not the lesson of this episode, it's an analogy for asserting dominance. A lot of teenage angst just comes from teens thinking that everyone is too stupid to understand them. So show them. Beat them at their own game and show them you're better than them. It's the only way to humble them. That's what South Park is doing here. The teenagers were very proud of their airsoft skills, until they got their butts handed to them by a bunch of dads. Other dads have tried similar tactics. This dad wore short shorts to troll his daughter's fashion choices. This one copied his daughter's sexy selfies to emphasize just how cringe they were. And then there's my dad. Imagine your dad using words like yacht and riz. Would you ever use them again if you heard them coming out of his mouth? That's what my old man did to me. He just had the superpower of making any cool slang word sound cringe by simply saying it. At the time, I was embarrassed because my simplistic teenage brain thought he was trying too hard to be cool. But I now realize what he was doing all along, ruining slang for me so I would speak proper English. Sneaky old man. Now, this is a very parent-centric message. What about the poor teenagers? A lot of you are watching this. How do you deal with all the frustration of living in a world where nobody understands you? Well, the cure is the same lesson from Taming Strange. Time. Time heals all wounds may be a cliche, but it's true. Live long enough and you'll discover that instead of people not understanding you, it's actually the other way around. Maybe it's you who doesn't understand other people. I went through this transformation myself a while ago. When I was a kid, I worshipped my dad. I thought he was the coolest man in the world. When some kid bothered me at school, I always had the perfect comeback. My dad can beat your dad. I believed in that with all my heart, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. When I grew up and became a teenager, I was disappointed to find out that my dad wasn't Superman. He was just a guy. He didn't understand me, he had no swag, he never let me do anything I wanted. The allowance he gave me was way too small, and he was always whining about the thermostat. I hated him back then. Then I grew up some more, got a job, and got my own apartment. I ran the AC around the clock just because I could. When I wanted to be really naughty, I would open a window, pop my head out, and enjoy the freedom of not having anybody yell at me for letting out the cold air. So nice. It was all fun and games until I got my electricity bill for that month. I think I had a heart attack. One moment I was standing, and when I regained consciousness, I was half sitting, half lying down on the couch. My heart was beating like it was about to explode, my mouth was dry, and my eyes were seeing double. I still had the bill in my hand, and I still couldn't believe what I was seeing. I called the electric company, and they were like, "No, sir, there's no mistake. You owe us $1,200. And that was the day I understood my dad. I didn't know how he did it for all those years, because I can assure you, if you touch my thermostat, you're dead.